Evening. Welcome to Tuesdays at 8, our weekly Facebook Live event. And this evening, we are going to have a real treat because Pat Maier is here and going to be talking to us about creating new family traditions. And we're going to be focusing on God's gift to the world. Before I introduce you to Pat, let's look at our video that we've created that just tells you a little bit about who Visual Faith Ministry is. So hold on one second. Here we are. Good evening, Pat. We are so happy that you are here.
Hi, Diane.
For those of you who don't know, but Pat is the co-founder of Visual Faith Ministry, and she is a visual faith coach. Pat is an artist and a teacher, and she uses God's word as inspiration for creative writing and drawing to cultivate understanding, hope, and joy in faith living. She is a nature lover and a gardener. And if you don't follow her on Instagram, you should, because she posts the most gorgeous nature pictures every day. She is an encourager to her husband, David, who is president of the Michigan District LCMS. They have 4 children. She has 3 kids in love and 4 grandchildren. So before we begin this evening, Pat, would you be so kind as to open us in prayer?
I will. Dear Lord, we thank you for this Facebook Live time together. We appreciate the chance to get together this way, and we appreciate the technology that allows us to do that. Lord, be with us tonight as we talk about traditions, especially those coming up at Christmas time, and bless our conversation. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much. So this is 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. So we've been talking about a lot of Thanksgiving things the past couple of weeks. Yeah. And the treat we're going to talk about tonight is another tradition you may have seen, may have heard. And if you're brand new, you probably have never seen this, but it's a wonderful process and tool that Pat actually created. And it's kind of you're going to really love it. It's for Christmas. So Pat, can you tell us a little bit about your visual faith story, where it began, how it began?
I will. And before I do, it was my fault. I didn't update my bio. I have 5 grandchildren now. So
thank you.
Baby Ella, I didn't want to leave her out. Yes. So the story kind of behind this project is that when I married my husband, his family had a tradition that I absolutely loved. And it centered around the gift opening at Christmas time. So whenever we would gather for gifts, and sometimes it was a couple times because we'd do it with one family here and another group here, before we would open the gifts, we would read or recite the Christmas story from Luke 2. And so that brought the focus onto Jesus as the gift, and that's why we give gifts. A lot of people think it's because of the wise men. They did give gifts too, but for us anyway, the fact that, Jesus, God so loved the world that he gave his son, his gift to us in Jesus. So if we created that focus as the reason for giving our gifts, it's like a witness to God's love and mercy every time we do that. So that was the tradition that I absolutely loved, that my husband's family had practiced. And then when I met Connie and we were talking about Visual Faith Ministry and what it all meant, I remember one thing that she actually told me that really hit me right here was that some of the projects were created for people in mind who were perhaps new to the faith and wanted to be faithful parents and dads that wanted to be the spiritual head of the family. But if you're not raised in the church, it's like, what do I say sometimes, or how do I do that? And so there were projects that have been created, like a prayer cube that you could roll, and then there would be a prayer right there, that you could see and read, even if you didn't have any memorized from your childhood. So this project is kind of tied in with that, and I'll explain that more as we go along.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. So it was actually your personal experience that led you to create this wonderful tool and project for yourself. And obviously it must have worked. So if this was a new tool, how did your family react the first time you introduced it and tried it?
Well, it was it wasn't very strange for us because we always did read the Christmas story, or somebody would read it. My husband's a pastor, and so my kids had been to school, and some of them memorized, because we kind of knew it and would stumble through it. But I wanted to make it more inclusive, because in our family, we would often have people over for Christmas Day, and it might be a friend of the family that wasn't necessarily a church-going person. Or, when you have a fiance that comes into the family, or your kids have a friend or an exchange student, I wanted to include everyone in it so no one was left out or felt awkward. And so for this project, which is just reading the Luke 2 story verse by verse from Luke 2, you'll see how it is on the cards. Each person can read it together as you pass out the verses and go around the room, and you'll see that when we show the slides. Even the littlest kids, like my grandson Beckett now can read, so he gets his own verse to read this year. And Avery, who's 4, will probably sit with her mom or dad and do the "Fear Not," So you can include people of all ages, and then hearing those voices, the grandmas and the great grandmas reading, or great grandpas reading, and then the little kids' voices, just to hear the whole family, intergenerational, boys and girls, men and women, all ages, reading that Christmas story, being there together. Our family really likes that. And then after that's over, we have a prayer and we open gifts.
Oh, that sounds like such a sweet, wonderful time. Well, let's show a picture of this, because I want to make sure everybody who's on here, if you haven't heard of the project or seen the project, to understand this is actually very simple. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't be upset. Like, I can't add one more thing to my list, because as we talked about with the Thanksgiving project, we went and got Thanksgiving cards from Dollar Tree. This is Christmas cards. So go ahead, Pat, show it just quickly.
So it's mine is put together on their index card sizes, and I take, just to do a background, I do Christmas cards, and then poke a hole, put them on an O-ring, and then as you go through, there's something to read, and then there's verse by verse on each card. So verse 1 from Luke 2, and verse 2, and then you go through. So what I do is you take them off this O-ring, and then you have them to, pass around. Each one gets one, and then you just go around the room. So however many people you have, you just keep passing them around and then they can't change places because we have to read them in order. See,
that's wonderful.
And then the verse numbers are in the back, so the kids can put them back together when they're done.
The numbers too. Well, I'm going to pop up a couple pictures, and Pat's going to walk us through what.
Yeah, that'd be better to see it. It's easier to explain it. So these are the first one. That one on the left is one that I just made myself. And then when we decided to create the project for Visual Faith Ministry, we kind of renamed it Honoring the True Gift of Christmas. So they're both the same thing, really, but you can see how they're the cards on an O-ring, and then you can tie some ribbons or something on that if you want, or not.
Okay. So, okay, hold on. There we go. Okay.
So this is a picture of like just the front of mine, and on the inside cover, you can see that there's a reason the project was created. And then it gives a little suggestion as you gather family and friends around the Christmas tree. You might want to start by singing a familiar hymn. So it's just a suggestion. You don't have to do it that way, but it gives people an idea of how it might look if you've never done it before.
Wonderful. Okay, so if you're not getting this by looking at the slides and you've never made this project, what you will see is this is actually a free resource that we provide, and all of those words are in a document that you're going to print. So all you have to do is tear or cut and paste. So we know you can do that. Okay, let's look at a few more.
Yeah, and this would be the kind of some words to explain why we give gifts and why we honor Jesus as we give gifts. So if someone didn't know what to say, this gives something that they can read or read ahead of time and then just say it in their own words. Sometimes at our house, my husband will just say something. We don't always read it like this. But it's just some information for people that want to follow this tradition.
That's wonderful. And I like that, as you mentioned, this is such an inclusive project, because if people did not grow up with this type of tradition in your home and you just dived into the presents and missed the whole reason, this is on there. You don't have to be afraid if you're the leader, whether you're whoever the leader of this is, all the instructions are right there. Okay, let's look at another one.
So this is kind of the like maybe the title page, the Christmas story reading. So, and then I just so the backs of each card are just scrapbook paper because I wanted to make the back pretty too. So you can go to the next slide. So this is the slide that comes at the very end, or the tag that comes at the very end, because it's a closing prayer. You can certainly close with a prayer spontaneously before you open your gifts, but there's a prayer here if you want to use it.
Okay.
So these are some examples of what the cards might look like, because it's kind of hard to picture the project if you can't see it. So what I find fun to do is to try and, so for me, it's a reflective process when I make this resource to try and find a Christmas card that reflects the scripture. So for instance, the one of the mountains, that's the verse, and Joseph also went up from Galilee. And he's traveling from Nazareth. So it just seemed like a picture that would fit, as he's traveling and seeing the scenery around him. And lo, the angel of the Lord, that's the one on the right. So I found a Christmas card with an angel. And I have received the card at the bottom right so many times. I love that picture of Mary with baby Jesus. And when I see that, I think of the verse, and Mary treasured all these things in her heart. So, that can be a reflective process as you make this. But, you can also, if you don't have the time to do that, you can use, just any Christmas card as well. And you can see also the backs. I chose a couple different scrapbook patterns and just put that on the back with the verse numbers. And these two cards, I think these are an example of sometimes the card actually has a little more wording on it that really supports the verse. So this fear not verse, and this is a quote from Roy Lesson on this card, love so amazing. And I should have pulled that out because I can't read it on the little slide, but the words kind of support that verse. And then also, the other one, for unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And then that card just saying, this is Christmas. That's what Christmas is. So, just tying in the card with the verse is a reflective process that can bless you in the doing of it. Yeah, and this slide just shows that you can, some cards fit better landscape wise. So this was an example, and I'm not always a torn paper person. The others showed, you just tear around the verse and put it on, so real easy. But you can also cut it out and put a little colored paper on the back. Just another way that you can do it. And then the scrapbook paper, of course, and then you can buy some rolls of fibers and things to add to it. So this is just a picture that shows the resources that you might use for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you is with the Thanksgiving project that we just did, it was about going to Dollar Tree and getting the Thanksgiving cards and making this junk journal. So do you go buy these cards, or how do you actually approach this?
Well, you could do that.
Okay.
And I know this is a busy time and we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet.
Right.
So I don't want to stress anybody out with this project. So I actually did this in like 1 minute. So if you wanted to do this year and you don't have any Christmas cards and don't want to go out and buy them, you could just put the verses on a little piece of paper. This is just a 4x6 index card cut in half with some scrapbook paper, and I didn't even cut real straight. So, and it's just put it together on a little twine. So that's really quick and easy that you could do it that way. Okay. Just so you can see, this is how it downloads. You just have the verses and you can cut around them and put them on. Another thing that you could do is, as Christmas cards come in this year, you have your download already, and as cards come in, you think, ooh, they found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger, and you have a card that shows that, you could cut that out or tear it out and paste it on there, and there's one card done. Or you can just save your cards this year and make it for next year.
I was going to say, before I moved to Florida, I had a giant box of cards that I could not throw away. They just meant something to me, the way the beauty of the card. So for those of us who are people that keep those, and you've never done this project, you can go into your stash and get those cards out. And here's a wonderful way to actually continue to use the card that somebody took the time to send to you.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Diane, that the cards that mean a lot to you, because I have told my kids that I was going to make one for them. And so I have right here a packet that says Hannah and Garrett Christmas cards for the Luke 2 project. And I have some for my other kids too. So they saved their cards for me. And so I'm going to make it out of their cards, because sometimes that's more special.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll put who the card was from. Another idea is that I saved this picture card from my other daughter's family. And so I might cut out some of their pictures and put that somewhere on the project just for them as a memory.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we've got some questions and comments. So
okay.
I'm going to pop a couple of those up. So hold on.
Connie Denninger says, a practice for inclusivity. Yes. Yes, we want to include everybody. And you know what? Even if somebody doesn't read the Bible or really know that much about the Christmas story, when you hand them a card and ask them just to read the verse, it's not something that's embarrassing or awkward. It's a very easy thing to include people.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
Yeah. Recycle and reuse those Christmas cards. Yes, Connie. I actually was at Connie's house once. You should see her stack of Christmas cards. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bringing all the generations together to share in the Christmas story is creating such a great memory for everyone, but especially the little ones. Yeah, that is a huge purpose. I want my grandchildren to remember doing this, just as like my husband remembers doing it with his grandparents, because his grandparents actually started it. His parents did it. So it is a sweet memory to pass down, a faith legacy to pass down.
That's awesome. Okay, let's see.
Eden, our family patriarch reads Luke 2 on Christmas Eve, and then we sing Silent Night, but this makes it more interactive. What a great idea. Yeah.
So that's a really good comment, Eden, because if people have a somewhat of a tradition like this, this is all what visual faith is about, because what we're doing is we're making it visual. We're just reading the story, then you're relying on people who are auditory process learners, where this is, you get to hear the story, but you get to see something also. So it really is very interactive and inclusive.
Right. And, I'll say too, it's a project that's seen. So I keep this with my Christmas stuff. And when I unpack stuff during Advent, it's out. And so it's there. I put it under the tree. So we remember to do it. Whether you pass the cards around, or maybe some year there is a special person there and they want to read them all, that you could do it that way. It's really however your family wants to use it.
Right. It sure is.
Jenny, this Luke 2 tradition reminds me of the Seder, an annual repetition of the story of God's amazing blessings in our lives, and that repetition sinks into our very bones. Yes, it does.
Great analogy.
Good comment.
To share that. Oh, somebody wrote this.
I knew there was a reason why I kept them. LOL. Yeah, I do that too. I save things and I think, I'm not sure what I'm going to use these for, but you'll find a purpose. And maybe you'll do it a little differently than this. I mean, this is just what I came up with. We're all creative in our own ways. So you can take this project and make it work for your family in whatever way you would like.
Absolutely.
I feel like I could make many sets of these for family and friends with all the cards I have. It's a great gift to give someone.
Mm-hmm. So I was just going to say, thanks, Emily, for that reminder that as some of us made extra Thanksgiving junk books, junk journals, and gave them away, this is another wonderful gift, whether it's to your direct family or if it's to a stranger or somebody who you just want to witness to. Great opportunity to witness to.
Right. And so with your Christmas cards then that you get, when you sit and binge watch all those Hallmark Christmas movies, this is something you can do while you watch them. Right?
That's a good idea.
Some traditions are certainly worthy of adding to our celebrations.
Yes, very much so.
And I'm not saying that if you don't do this tradition, you're not focused on Jesus at all. Some people put the manger scene underneath the Christmas tree. That's another way of visual faith, of focusing on Jesus as the baby. But this is just something that we do, and that if you want to do it, it's an easy project to put together.
Right. And it's a visual faith tool. How about what Alan said?
Yes, Eden, my father read the Luke 2, and now Alan reads it. Then we all get to pick a favorite Christmas carol to sing before opening gifts. Wonderful pictures from the past as grandchildren took turns sitting on Alan's lap while he reads. Yeah. And you could take pictures like that. Like I was going to cut out some of my daughter's pictures. You could add to this and put pictures on it too, similar to the Thanksgiving garland, because there's a lot of space on this O-ring. So you could even add some family pictures to it. And I think I will say too, with the Christmas cards, I can see the kids just paging through and reading it as they learn to read and looking at the pictures too, which is why the pictures from the Christmas cards are fun.
Right. And the other thing that I thought about is if you are past the stage of having little children with you and you have teenagers who sometimes, are not necessarily like, really, we got to, we're not so into that. This is a great opportunity because it's not asking them to recite something from memory, or you're really not putting them on the spot. You're just, hey, would you read this for us? So it's a way to maybe even pull young people in who may not really want to do it that way anymore.
Yeah. And kids are excited to open gifts. This doesn't take a long time to do. So it's not like, you could read a devotion, but this is pretty quick and easy to do. Connie, I've made the project with 5x7 jumbo playing cards, as that creates a sturdy base and can handle many years of handling and use. Good idea.
That's another good idea. And let's see, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
That said, you could probably do the project with smaller playing cards as well, too.
Yes.
Emily, you could also laminate them so they last longer. Another good idea.
Yes.
Those little ones you just made, Pat, would be a good individual gift for each grandchild. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I'm not sure if you heard my comment before. Connie mentioned the playing cards. You could put them on the smaller size playing cards, too. For the grandkids, that would be sturdy. Maybe you could find some with a Christmas backing and do it that way. Hey, Obi, how are you?
I want to be in this conversation right now. Sorry. Okay. Stop.
It is about the process and the practice. You can use any base for the project. Yes, you can. Whatever works. Okay. Those things you have around the house that you always thought you'd use, right? Cardboard. And I made mine last year and look forward to using it this year when my entire family is with us.
And for those people who watch this and then choose to make it, please make sure you show us and tell us kind of give us a testimony once you use it.
Claudina. Oh, I like the idea of using pictures in there of family. Yeah. And depending on how many people you have, you might give 2 verses to each person, as you go around the room. I kind of count who's there and look how many verses. I think we went through verse 20. Yeah, verse 20. So, or you can we've gone around a couple times,
And here's another really great comment from Eden. I like this idea.
This would be a great outreach project for preschool families. Yes, it would. Yeah.
And somebody said
a good project. Sometimes there's Advent projects when people were allowed to get together in churches in the same room. This would be a good project for that too. Jamie, or a mom's group. Yes. Yeah. Haha, Pat, you were telling on me with my card stash. That is what happens when a whole church gives you all their cards. I know. Connie gets things dropped off on her porch because people know she makes things out of them.
Yeah.
Busted, yes. Well, I can't find mine. It's with the Christmas stuff. I'm glad I could remind you, Candace.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Hoping to have some new traditions. Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. No, wait. Okay. Oh, here's another one. I'm sorry.
Great opportunity for a nursing home activity. Yeah. Yeah. Really, any type of a gift opening, you could do this. If you're opening gifts with a mom's group or a Bible study group, you could do that as well. Yeah. I think I'm going to do this with my Sunday school class and have them give to their parents as a gift. Wow. That's really cool. Let the kids witness to their folks and take home that gift. Yeah. I think kids would enjoy, honestly, searching for a card that goes with a verse. You could talk about a verse, they could find a card, and
which is a great idea.
And a lot of people do save their cards, so it should be easy to, if you're doing it for Sunday school, just send out a little, we're collecting cards. Can you donate some? Or make them for neighbors? Yes. Yeah.
So good. Well, the other thing I wanted to make sure everybody understood is we're coming into Advent. So for those of you who practice Advent, there's so many Advent calendars, which is really where you're stopping every day and reading a Bible verse or putting, words. And you could talk about that in a second, Pat. My point being, if you're saying, oh my gosh, they're giving me all these ideas, but I have no time to make any of this. This project can be made in maybe a few hours. Once you collect your cards, you can sit in front of the TV if that's what you're doing, or involve your family as we're talking about, but you don't actually need it till whenever you're celebrating Christmas, which if you're celebrating it on the 24th or the 25th, you have like 6 weeks from now. So it's not something we're getting you excited. And then you say, but I don't have any time to make that. It's great, but I don't have time. You don't have to.
I will say that the most time-consuming thing is trimming the cards. But I have a small paper cutter; they're kind of inexpensive, so I just mark on it, and then cut the cards to fit an index card size is what I chose. So, but you could do any color. Wendy, hi Wendy. My grandboys will love making them next time they spend the day. We can use them for our celebration. Yeah.
Since so many grandparents are watching children because they can't go to school, we're giving you lots of really good ideas to get involved with your grandchildren and not only make something that day, but then something they will have and they will be able to use. And it's really great. Let's see. We got another one.
Heidi jumped on late and didn't see the project. Could you hold it up? Yes. Well, I took one of them apart, but so it's a project of the verses from Luke 2 that you can read before opening gifts at Christmas. Yeah. And you'll be able to catch up, Heidi. We'll save the video and then you can watch and see the beginning part too. But this is what it looks. Whoops. This is what it looks like. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. So does anybody else have any other questions for Pat this evening? Pat, tell us a little bit about what an Advent calendar is for those people who are maybe new and haven't done an Advent.
Yeah, an Advent calendar, it marks the days preceding Christmas, And generally an Advent calendar can be one that, you can buy them for kids where you open a little window. There might be a treat inside. It's kind of a countdown to Christmas. And here at Visual Faith, we have Advent calendars that are coloring Advent calendars, where there are spaces for the days preceding Christmas. And you might write a prayer in each space, countdown to Christmas, or as you read an Advent devotion, or morning devotion, maybe put your takeaway in that space and color it in. And it's kind of a visual reminder to yourself then of Christmas coming closer as you prepare yourself. Advent is a time to prepare your heart and mind for celebrating the gift of Jesus. So we think about that and focus on him during the month of December.
That's awesome. Thank you for that explanation. I know that I was not raised talking about anything with Advent. So when I heard that word 10 years ago, I went, what? I don't know what that is. So thank you for explaining that. Yeah. So what Pat just described as an Advent calendar, we have quite a few of those. They're very easy. Mm-hmm. This is not a hour a day. It can be very simple. And then when you're right before Advent ends is when the Christmas story begins, and this project fits in.
Right. And Advent calendars, there's quite a few on the website. Valerie Matthias designed a new one for this year, which will be put up. So if you're doing this in the classroom setting, you could even have the children pick a design that they like, and you could do this in your classroom as well.
Great. Okay, Connie's defending herself.
All of these resources come from years of collecting ideas and resources and making things over the years. We don't intend for you to make all and everything this year. Yeah, we certainly don't want you to be overwhelmed.
That's right. That's not our goal, is to not overwhelm you.
Just ideas. And, Diane, you invited people to share if they do more on this project on our Facebook page. And I think that other people will have creative ideas. So share those ideas too for this project, how you use it in a different way, or for other ideas that you have.
And that is so true, Pat, because when Eden was on a few weeks ago and we talked about the Thanksgiving journal, and she made one and I made one prior to that night that I did the live. And then everybody got so excited, and then they started posting all these pictures. And then we had like 20 additional ideas that people came up with that were very special, about adding recipe cards. And so that's the beauty of our Facebook group, is that Pat has one way of doing it. I have another way of doing it. We're still all focusing on Jesus, and the reason that, what this is all about is about God's gift to the world. So we can actually inspire and encourage each other when you post the things in our group.
Yeah, we love the collaboration. And, in Visual Faith Ministry, we always point to the fact that everyone is creative because we have a creator God, who created everything. And so we're made in his image. And when you think about God's creativity, there's no limit to his creativity. So there's no limit to the creative ideas that we can come up with.
Absolutely.
And Eden says this could even be done in the days after Christmas as you look through this year's cards, and then you'll have it ready for next year. That is very doable. Yeah.
Yes.
During those Hallmark movies. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. The focus is always Jesus. We love the extensions and new ways to use a simple resource. Yes, we do, Connie.
We do. Well, great. I don't see any other questions that we have. Let's see. Somebody, hold on. Let me read if I can read. Oh, here's somebody did have a question. Hold on.
If you don't have Christmas cardstock, can you use wrapping paper, put on index cards? Yeah, I think you could. If you put it on with a glue stick, you'd have to experiment with how you would put it together. But I think that would be Christmas wrapping paper is so pretty. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. I think too, just to kind of wrap it up and summarize, this is from the website, but again, this project is meant to be seen, because you have something that you can look at and that reminds you to do it. It's meant to be enabling because there's instructions there. There's words you can use. The verses are right there. There's a closing prayer, so anybody can do it. It enables anyone to incorporate this faith practice into their family. It's meant to be inclusive. It includes everyone who is there for the gift opening, and it's meant to be memorable. Just that memory of doing it every year, and the memory of the people that are so special gathered around.
That's a great idea. And then let's see, somebody had one idea I wanted to share. Here we go.
Hey, one of our friends came up with the idea of taking one Christmas card per day following Christmas and praying for that family. Yes, we've done that before, and that's a wonderful practice to do. And then sometimes, like now with cell phones, via their number, you can text them and say, "I prayed for you today." Text them a picture of the card they sent you. That's a great idea, Claudia. Thank you so much for the evening. I so look forward to joining you all on Tuesday nights. Well, we are glad that you joined us.
Yes, thank you, Claudina. We really appreciate that. Okay,
Yeah.
now I have to click the right buttons. Well, great. Well, if there's no further questions, I'm going to basically say thank you very much to Pat. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and for creating this project, for sharing it, and thank you for the wonderful memories you've created, because your memories actually inspire those of us who didn't grow up that way or haven't had that experience to actually create that experience for our families. And so it's a wonderful testimony and a witness that we get to have. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good to be with everybody.
Yes, thank you. So join in again next week. Thank you, Pat. Join in next week. We always have Tuesday nights live. I have great conversation. We have wonderful encouragement, and hopefully you are inspired every week as we focus on our faith life. And follow-up conversations will be in our Visual Faith Facebook group. If you're not in that group, just go to Facebook and type in Visual Faith and you will see our group. We'd love to have you join. You will find lots of conversations, lots of encouragement, and lots of inspiration there. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week.